The story of the ugly little laundry room turned into a magical nursery. You might think that dogs don't care about the aesthetics of where they sleep, just so long as it's warm and dry with a soft bed and blankets. Dogs also like small private spaces they can retreat to, so we gave them the laundry room. It's small, and they have it to themselves except a few times a month when we do laundry. Our dog Bo, a poodle and Dachshund mix, chewed a hole in the drywall when he was a puppy that was never filled in. Toys, medicine, collars, and odds and ends from several generations of dogs were piled up on one counter. Doggy clothes, shampoos, treats, towels, and everything else were crammed into the cabinets. We had a box with their plushies, which were forgotten and unloved. It all started with filling in that hole that Bo chewed in the wall when he was a puppy. Then we decided to paint the walls. Why not go with playful pastels, a light pink and blue from Sherwin-Williams? We added baseboards which had been ripped out when the terracotta tiles were laid several years ago, and we painted them white. Once the inertia was broken, we were inspired to turn this ugly laundry room into a full-fledged doggy nursery. I wanted the doggy nursery to be inspired by my favorite children's stories, with an emphasis on the ones that starred animals, especially canine characters. I looked at a lot of pre-made curtains, although ready-made window treatments are not really my thing. I found some fun balloon curtains and Roman shades and pastels. There were Sanrio-themed ones, but the colors were truly garish. I decided I'd go with the cafe curtain style, and I wanted gingham. With limited options out there once you narrowed it down, I decided to have them made. I found a vendor on Etsy that was displaying blue gingham curtains, and I thought those would be fun. The gingham reminded me of Dorothy's dress in The Wizard of Oz. As it turned out, she also had old Wizard of Oz decals, so I designed cafe curtains with the decals, and that was the first thing I made for the room. It actually wasn't easy to find the curtain rods for these, but I located them at a shop in Florida. They reminded me of the curtain rods from the 1970s, and while a little dinky, they work just fine if you aren't too hard on them. Next, I decided to buy shelves, and once again, it was not an easy search. Most of the shelving you find out there is very plain, and what is labeled as made for a children's room tends to be narrow and also quite expensive. I wanted shelves with a fanciful Alice in Wonderland feeling to them, not soulless contemporary. But I also didn't want to pay $100 per shelf. I found metal shelves that had a shabby chic finish, battered looking yellow-white with rust spots, and I had to sand those down before I could spray paint them in complementary pastel colors. I also found curly-cued cutout shelves made of something like a hard styrofoam. They were also white. To make the beautiful shapes of these shelves really pop, it's important to paint them a complementary color to the wall from which they hang. Otherwise, they just blend in and there's no point in sourcing anything fanciful. I painted them first with the acrylic paint that I used on the walls, but even though the paint had a gloss, it came out matte and the brush strokes were visible. I realized I had to use spray paint, which took me on a journey of exploration into edible-looking pastel colors. After trial and error with different pinks and blues, I settled on the right shades. I also ordered some floating shelves with a cat motif. The metal part came in black or white, which I painted again in complementary colors. The cat on the blue wall was pink and a blue cat on the pink wall. When you spray paint, do it outside or in a garage with some ventilation, but no draft. I put a big box under it, and you have to spray it in a sweeping regular motion or it pools up. This is especially true for the high gloss spray, which I prefer if available. Check the can for specific directions as they vary. Also be sure to wear an N95 mask because you don't want to be breathing in all those fumes. I also used a plastic face shield to protect my eyes from stray fumes or paint. Once I realized how fun spray painting was and all the beautiful colors and finishes available, it became a delightful part of the project. Once I realized the limitation on frame colors at Michael's or Amazon or even on Etsy, I decided to buy the frame shape and style I wanted and then just spray paint them. I bought many 8x10 picture frames for an incredible price on Amazon, as well as shadow boxes of different sizes from Michael's. That eliminated having to hunt for the right frame and the right color or finish, which simply didn't exist. I used spray paint to finish the hooks I put on the wall as well, which came in a boring white, and I painted them to complement or coordinate with the wall. After all, it's also still a laundry room, so we wanted the hooks to be able to dry clothes that can't go in the dryer. I had fun buying frames from some of my favorite children's stories, such as the Beatrix Potter frames, or Toto in a Basket, Humpty Dumpty, and Lady and the Tramp. Speaking of Lady and the Tramp, I also bought Lady and the Tramp switchplate covers. In addition, I purchased breed-specific dog frames for some of the photos. Once I had a lot of frames, I had to go through years of photographs of our pets, and some of them went as far back as the late 80s. To figure out which photographs I was going to choose, I got them printed and put them in frames, which took many hours. I put some of the old sweaters and collars from our past dogs that I had saved in the shadow boxes, and even some of the fondant and candles from birthday cakes to go along with the photos. I was able to pull out their plushies, little hats from Halloween, and Christmas costumes, which were all hidden away in boxes, and make them part of the decor. The final touches were new duvets and pillows with their names embroidered on them, and the pink shag rugs in front of their beds. These are so soft, I wish we had them upstairs. I made the duvet covers out of 2 top sheets that I had, a striped pink and white and a plain white sheet, and I also ordered 2 Lady and the Tramp fat quarters and made pillowcases out of those. Then there was still the issue of the ghastly fluorescent lighting. Many moons ago, the ceiling was dropped and a fluorescent light put in a recessed soffit. That meant I'd have to rip out the metal frame to remove the sheet of vinyl and take out the fluorescent fixture. The recessed soffit needed to be sanded, and then we decided to put a fanciful chandelier. I found the most amazing artists on Etsy who made all these fairy tale themed chandeliers, sconces, pendants, and lamps. We collaborated to design an Alice in Wonderland lamp made out of a teapot and teacups. The chandelier with a bunny in the middle and crescent moons on the arms is the signature pink and blue of the room, although in the case of the crescent moons of the chandelier, we chose a blue lilac. The ceiling medallion was a lilac mauve with pearlized letters and glitter. That's all stuff that we did ourselves. Okay, is that hard to paint?
Yeah, it's very hard to paint.
The transformation of an ugly fluorescent fixture to a beautiful feature of the room, I think, was one of the triumphs of the makeover. An ugly, neglected laundry room was transformed into the most cheerful little room in the house. I love going into this room, and I do it frequently. The dogs also notice a difference. They are there much more often than before, and they often stare with fascination at the stuffed animals. Sometimes even the photographs. See for yourself.
That's you and your grandma's. That's your grandma's there. Hey, Grandma Dido and Grandma Chi-Chi.
How much is that doggy in the window? I do hope that doggies, I do hope that doggies, I do hope that doggies for sale.
Illumizone transforms your space through craftsmanship, color, and lighting. We started in men's fashion, opening 2 boutiques, both critically acclaimed for their interior design. We were recognized twice by Gen Arts for the best menswear. Celebrated in the New York Times, Details, and Vogue. Ocean Drive magazine nominated our Miami boutique for best store design. Since then, our mission has been to cast away the darkness of conformity and mass production. Illumizone landscape design can add new dimensions to your garden, layering color, fragrance, and perspective. No plot of land is too small or humble to be transformed into a piece of paradise.